Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazer reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and now also on YouTube. If you are listening to the show, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by New Year's, so if you haven't subscribed now, go ahead and do it. Today's show is a very, very special one. We are once again joined by our weekly guest here, none other than Jason Quick of The Athletic, my friend and yours. But we're going to do things a little bit differently. So before we talk about that, Jason, you doing okay? Are you having a better morning than me so far?
Yeah, I was going to say, I wish the listeners could have experienced the pre-pod moment with you. You're a little harried this morning.
Yeah, I'm frazzled. I'm frazzled. I'm not at the top of my game. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to still try to put out 30 minutes of quality audio and video content. It just means that you got to see me a little harried, like you said, before we got started.
The composing yourself before you went on the air was great, though.
Okay.
I wish people could see that. There's like a little wiggle that goes in when he composes himself.
If listeners are lucky, I'll keep that video. I'll keep that as part of the video as the cold open. They can see how I physically reset after a little bit of a dicey morning here. But the Blazers are a bad basketball team, Jason. I don't really want to talk about the specifics of the bad basketball team. You wrote a story in The Athletic that came out Thursday, December 16th, kind of unpacking all of the reasons that they're bad. So instead of talking about all those reasons, I encourage you, dear listener, just to go read Jason's story. He kind of unpacks where they are and the difficulties of getting out of this mess. But instead of that, let's play a game. How about a game? I stole this from Sean Woodley, the host of Locked On Raptors. It's called What's More Likely? And Jason, I'm going to present you with some scenarios, and you're going to tell me what's so likely, and then we can discuss them as necessary. You know how it works, or you'll figure out how it works. You're pretty smart.
I'm tense. I'm a little nervous about this.
Oh, no. This is like, think of this as like many of our sort of conversations that we have. But this will be, instead of the sort of, whatever, just like sitting on press row BSing, hey, what do you think is more likely? We're bringing it to the people instead.
Right.
I'll keep it, but you'll be all right. I believe in you. Let's start with this one. What's more likely? The Blazers finish higher than 8th in the West, or they pick higher than 8th in the draft?
Wait.
So that would be...
that's basically saying...
Do they finish...
Are they going to be a playoff team, or are they not?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
But are they going to be like a truly bad team if they miss the playoffs, right? Like, are they going to finish 8th?
Well, they're 7th worst team right now.
Exactly.
Right?
Are they more likely to stay where they are in the 7th worst team, or are they more likely to get all the way back and be a playoff team?
Jeez. You know what? I thought that my knee-jerk reaction when Joe got hired and hearing him talk about wanting to take risks and stuff, I really thought that he was going to be able to pull some deals and that this would be righted. But the more that I look at their situation, I think it's going to be really difficult for him to pull off a deal soon enough for them to right their ship.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's more likely that they are a lottery team.
Yeah, more likely pick higher than 8th in the draft. I would probably lean that way too, just because I think the timing wise, their December 15th is the quote unquote start of trade season, but it's very rare that trades happen in December in the league, especially big ones. So we're pushing, end of January, February, and by then, we've seen what this team is like. They're not very good, and they're more than one trade away from being special.
And it doesn't look like Dame's going to get better.
Right.
I don't know if it's an injury or what's going on, but we're 29 games into this now, and it's more than just the slump. I
totally. And there's certainly a good portion of it is physical. If some of it is X's and O's and some of it is mental and all that, like a portion of it is a physical problem for sure with Dame.
It's got to be.
All right. Our next what's more likely question. What's more likely? CJ McCollum becomes the Blazers' 5th all-time leading scorer, or that he's played his final game with the Portland Trail Blazers. A little bit of math there for you. CJ is 865 points away from moving into fifth. That's roughly 20 points per game over 43 games, and the Blazers have 52 games remaining. So is it more likely that he plays out those seasons averaging about 20 a game, or that he's played his last game as a Portland Trail Blazer?
I think it's probably more likely that he's played his last game as a Portland Trail Blazer.
Wow. Leaning that way. I mean, he's out for at least another week, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like Joe Cronin pretty much hasn't hit it that a trade is coming, and that trade, the way he talks, is that trade is CJ McCollum. That was certainly more likely than playing 43 games. I'm leaning with you there. Do you think CJ is the first domino to fall?
I think it will probably be Covington or Nurkic, actually. Yeah. But I think we talked about this at the last game, the Memphis game, that everyone. I think CJ's most likely or the easiest route for this team to get better because of his salary and talent level and all that. But I still think there's a chance that Norm could be that guy who is used as a chip to get better. So it's Norm or CJ. That's going to be their quickest route to getting better quickly. So, but it feels like Norm is more of a Chauncey Billups guy because of his defense and kind of his grit. So I would say CJ.
Yeah, it's more likely of the two.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, yeah, I just think the 30 million bucks, like if they could find a way, that seems like a way that they could solve several teams' problems because of the big money. You can move stuff around, and several teams that want to get cheaper or want to do this and that, they can make it happen.
Right.
I got more for you. I got 6 more in the chamber, but let's come back and answer, or I'll ask you more of those in the second and third segments. But first, let me tell my listeners about Truebill. It's the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, you don't want, or you simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. Truebill is here to make it incredibly simple. You just link your accounts, and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap, and your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Basically, it's a service. You download the app, you quickly, and I was able to do this in under 10 minutes when I downloaded the Truebill app, see all the subscriptions you're paying for. You can literally click it right in the app, cancel this, it cancels it immediately. And if it's more than that, if companies make it harder, you're paying for a service that makes it simple for you. You say, cancel this, Truebill will go do it for you. So don't fall for those subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. That's truebill.com/lockedonnba. All right. Still chatting here with Jason Quick. We're playing a game that I stole from someone else on the network. Shout out to Sean Woodley of Locked On Raptors. We're playing What's More Likely. We talked about where the Blazers finished. We talked about CJ McCollum's future with the Blazers. Here's your next one, Jason.
All right.
What's more likely? The next person to sign a contract extension with the Blazers is Anthony Simons, or the next person to sign a contract extension with the Blazers is Nasir Little.
Ooh. Anthony.
Is that only timing wise?
Yes.
I he has a year advantage.
I think the organization is equally encouraged by both of those youngsters.
Sure.
I think they're both high on them. I think each of them have shown marked improvement. I think they're the two bright spots of this dreadful season so far.
The only ones, indeed.
And so, yeah, Anthony is will be a restricted free agent this summer, and I fully expect him to match anything that he's given.
Yeah. The sort of hiccup here would be that if Ant gets included in trades, it's kind of an unknowable thing. I would assume Ant has slightly more value trade wise than Nas, because the thing Ant does is score, and scoring is the most valuable skill in the league. But I don't think it's like wildly different because of Nas's size and sort of hustle category potential for sure. But Ant is like closer, like scoring is so valuable, and Ant can really score. That's just a more valuable basketball player.
And he has a slightly larger body of work too.
Absolutely. It would be the Blazers' first player to sign an extension coming off a first-round pick to sign an extension since C.J. McCollum. The Blazers, in Neil Olshey's tenure, signed two people coming first-round picks to contract extensions: Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. Certainly, Ant was a candidate under Neil, and I assume he still will be the same. But two in a row would be rare in the Blazers era if they were to sign both Nas and Ant, which is why I asked the question. All right, what's more likely, Jason? In July, Damian Lillard requests a trade, or Damian Lillard signs a max contract extension?
Oh God. I so hate this story. I hate the storyline.
That's why I buried this one a little bit. I didn't want it to end the show or be the lead of the show. I put this in the middle intentionally, so it's only the our most dedicated listeners will get to it.
I'm just exhausted of the storyline. But what is it again? It's whether he has to trade or what?
Yeah, what's more likely in July, that he requests a trade or signs a contract extension?
Oh, it's probably more likely he signs an extension, but I think the organization should really think about this before they lock themselves into it. And I think this will be a telling next, 4 or 5 months. And so, yeah, but I would say it's probably more likely that he signs an extension.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the extension thing. It's like he's already under contract for 3 seasons with like an opt-in for like something in the range of $50 million. It's they don't need to do it right now, and luckily for them, luckily for Joe Cronin, like they don't have to. Maybe they can. Whatever, there might be some verbal agreements that happen before that in the league, but like you don't have to make that commitment till July, and you can kind of figure out between now and then what this team is like before you sort of, they want to build around Dame, but does building around Dame demand that you also give him $100 million? And I think that's the decision that they'll have to figure out when they get there, right? Like, I don't think it's a no-brainer, but I don't. I think there's more. I think you got to figure out what direction this team is heading by April before you make that commitment.
Yep.
All right, so we've got a couple more. What else do I got for you? Here's one for you. The Blazers are a top 10 offense this season. They end with a top 10 offense, or the Blazers don't have a bottom 3 defense. They're currently 18th in offense and 4th worst in defense. So is it more likely that their offense surges and they figure this out, or that their defense continues to sputter all season long?
I would definitely vote for the offense. I think it's more likely that they improve there. And it's just, I think once you get to this point in the season, it's really hard to make a huge jump in any of those stats, just because, it's quite you have a body of work, and it's hard to move the needle drastically. But I would say offense, just because this is largely a roster of offensive players, but we'll see what Joe does if he brings in some defensive type players.
Yeah, I would probably lean the other way. I would probably lean that they don't have a bottom 3 defense, just because it seems easier for them to finish like 25th or 26th, like just to barely skate it. That doesn't mean that I believe in their defense. It just means that like the parameters are like, because they're 18th in offense right now, they've really been bad.
Yeah.
I think to me that's more notable than anything else, is that the offense has looked bad. That is, I kind of thought, and a lot of this is Damian Lillard having the worst offensive season of his career, right? Like we can put it at the feet of Chauncey Billups and whatever, and Neil Olshey, but like neither of them like had Dame shooting 30% in their plans.
Right. And I think that's the hardest thing, taking a step back and looking at from a wider lens. I think that's the hardest thing for Blazer fans right now is that before, the defense was terrible, but at least it was an entertaining product because they could score and stay close in games. And remember, last year they had all those clutch games, whatever.
Dame, if you got to the last 3 minutes, Dame was going to win it for you, and it was like fun because it was like, well, this team can't stop anyone, but if they're in the game, they've got the best closer in basketball.
You were engaged in the games,
right?
And you might be disappointed a lot of times. You might be frustrated that they couldn't stop teams, but it was an entertaining product. And this year has become, it's just such a grind to watch this team play, and it's almost exhausting because they're bad on both ends. And so the entertainment level has really nosedived. And I think that's what has been so hard for Blazer fans is that the product is not even entertaining anymore.
Yeah, hence the game today, Jason.
Yeah, right.
That's why I texted you. I was like, let's not like really dive into the basketball team. Let's not talk about the last couple games. We don't need to talk about the whatever end of the fourth quarter or beginning of the fourth quarter against Memphis. Let's not do it. I already fell on that sword. This is a daily podcast, so I already I bravely talked about that terrible game. But
did you talk about the chin guy?
I didn't talk about the chin guy. Let's actually give a moment to the chin guy. Blazers halftime acts this week have been better than the basketball by a lot. They had Red Panda, and then they had this chin balancer guy known as the chin balancer. Both significantly better than the basketball games. Game against the Suns was fine, but pretty brutal ending for the Blazers.
The chin guy is going to be the new. I think he's going to be the new rave in halftime entertainment. They had Quick Change, Red Panda. Who are some other ones?
Amazing Sladek, who goes on the chairs. Right. The lady who shoots the bow and arrow with her feet.
Oh, right.
Christian and Scooby, who is the guy with the little dog, little Chihuahua dog who runs around in the basketball and does tricks, but he's also an acrobat. That Christian and Scooby is a real variety show.
Had beers with him once in Oklahoma City after a game.
Yeah, he was at our hotel.
Well, that's right. You were there too.
Yeah. He this is how you know I'm a nerd, Jason. Is that Christian Scooby guy unfollowed me on Twitter. It was like he was like he's like, don't care for this guy. Don't care for this guy's style. There's a lot of numbers. He's like, defensive rating? Yeah, no thank you. He told us that Scooby had retired when he told when he
had a replacement though.
With him. Yeah, he had a new dog that was masquerading as Scooby.
Right.
Chin guy though balances he balanced a lawnmower on his chin. He balanced a ladder on his.
He was a lawnmower, yeah.
A lawnmower and a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
A folding table. Yeah.
A bike.
Yeah. There's some secret video of Jason Quick really enjoying that. So when this podcast goes behind a paywall, you can pay $25 a month to unlock Jason Quick enjoying the chin balancer. So I love that guy. Best highlight of the Blazers week so far. They play we're recording this on Friday morning. They play the Hornets tonight. But highlight of the week so far has been chin balancer, which really speaks to where the team is.
Hey, is LaMelo playing tonight?
He is questionable.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, I haven't seen an update since that, but he was upgraded. Upgraded to questionable, but he had been out the previous game. So here's to hoping we get a LaMelo ball. I would at this point you got to root for the opponent to have fun players because the Blazers might not bring it.
Yeah.
Let's close out the show. I got a couple more questions and what's more likely. Before we do that, let me tell listeners about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. I've been telling y'all about Built Bars for literally 2 years. I've also been eating them for a long time myself. I've told the story before, but here's how it works. Built Bar becomes a sponsor of the show. They send some free product to my home and they say, try these so you can talk about them. And I said, These are awesome. I'm going to eat them and now spend my own money to buy them. So I became a Built Bar customer just by basically trying them one time. I said, this is something for me. My personal favorites, cookies and cream, and as well as peanut butter brownie, but you'll find something you like. They got fruity flavors, they got chocolate flavors, they got limited time stuff. So make sure you're checking built.com all the time for their limited time flavors, and you'll find something you like and find something your family likes. All of them are packing a punch, 17 to 18 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and no more than 5 grams of net carbs. All tasty, all healthy. Go get yourself some. Built.com. Use that promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off. LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Today's show also brought to you by BetOnline.ag, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. They got more lines, more props, more odds than ever before. They got a new and updated website so you can access it on your phone, you can access it on your computer, and then you can quickly bet on every sport that there is. So basketball season heading into the meat of its schedule, college football season into the bowl season, the NFL heading into the playoffs. You'll also be able to bet on soccer all over the world if that's something you're into. You'll be able to bet on the NHL season, combat sports like MMA and boxing, play your favorite Vegas casino games, whatever you're into, you'll find it on BetOnline. And if you use the promo code LOCKEDON, you'll get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So your first deposit magically gets 50% bigger when you use that promo code LOCKEDON. Go to betonline.ag. Don't wait. Take advantage of this offer. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. Still chatting here with Jason Quick of The Athletic, and we're still playing the game. What's more likely? What's more likely? Quick change? Quick change takes over the mantle as the greatest halftime act, or that we here have promoted Chin Balancer to the top ranks. And he's the one that TNT spends time in their halftime show looking at balancing stuff. I'll go Chin Balancer. I'm a believer.
Same.
Jason, let's. I got a couple more of these. We're playing What's More Likely. Here's the next one for you. What's more likely? Larry Nance Jr. is on the roster at the beginning of the next season, or Norman Powell is on the roster at the beginning of next season?
Oh, jeez. I'm going to say Norman Powell.
I would agree.
Yeah.
More years on his contract.
Yep. And I just think he's a Chauncey Billups type player. Not that Larry isn't, but I think Larry, will garner a lot of interest. I think Larry's a heck of a basketball player. I'm not so sure the Blazers have gotten the best version of Larry.
Agreed.
I think he'll be somebody who other teams would want. He's probably one of the most desirable pieces on this roster right now.
Yeah,
teams are looking at doing business.
He's weirdly their best trade chip because he's under contract next year for a reasonable amount of money. He can play. He can play that versatile, switchy, like small ball without sacrificing a bunch of size that everyone covets. Like he's a like the 82 game player versus 16 game player. I think Larry Nance is a 16 game player. I think he can play a bunch in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Blazers just might not get a chance to see what that looks like. And like you said, I think Norm is it's a lot of Norm. If you're trading for Norm, you're trading for a lot of Norm. It's 3 years left or 4 years left rather on his contract after this one at like 18.5 per. So it's a lot of Norm. I think that makes him a little less tradable because he's good and can help, but teams don't always want to trade for there's like a sweet spot. 2 years is perfect. 3 years is too long. It's trades like that they're a little bit tougher to thread the needle on. Okay, more likely to be on the roster after the trade deadline, Robert Covington or Yusuf Nurkic?
Yusuf Nurkic.
By a lot, right?
Yeah, by a lot. Just because the Blazers don't really have a traditional center. I mean, I guess Cody.
But I mean, he has a cracked bone in his kneecap. I think that's like they don't have a center right now.
It's really, really small, though. I think Cody will be back. Yeah. Okay. But I also think Cody's primed to be traded as well. I mean, I think he can, get them close to being under the tax line. But yeah, because
he's competent as on a minimum contract. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And Rocco is it. Do you think, like, I think Blazer fans believe Rocco has very limited trade value, and I agree that he has been bad this year. But like, do you think there's still some? Do you think there's a chance some teams out there say, hey, this guy was good as recently as 10 months ago? Do you think he has some positive trade value out there?
Some, yeah.
But
actually, since he lost his starting job, I think he's had some pretty good games.
Yeah, he had two good games this week. He was pretty awful against the Grizzlies.
Offensively. I thought his last two games against Phoenix and Memphis were two of his better defensive games of the season.
I thought he was legitimately very good against the Suns.
Yeah. I thought he's been really engaged. I think he's been really handsy. And he's kind of stuck his nose in a lot of situations down low. He hasn't, just let people go by. I think that's been encouraging. I think that will help teams who start scouting. Teams send scouts around.
Yep.
Not just to diagram plays and stuff, but to analyze players on other rosters. And I'm sure scouts are seeing that and going, he was pretty engaged. He was pretty good. He did this. So I think for a good team, he could help a playoff type team. And he could also be attractive to teams that are going to be wanting to cut salary. But as I wrote in my story, I think it's really hard for teams to make a salary cutting move in December when you're still trying to convince your fans that you're going for the playoffs or that you're going to be relevant. You can't be making those types of moves on, before Christmas, but you can
even
make
before
that
MLK Day, maybe.
Yeah. But you can make that, late January, early February, when the standings are kind of painting your outcome more fully.
Totally.
So my thing is I think everyone wants a quick resolution or a quick fix to this. And I don't think it's going to, I think people are going to have to be patient for Joe to make some moves, just because it's not a reflection of his urgency. It's a reflection of the rest of the league willing to do business at this time of the season.
I mean, you're making a phone call to another organization and they have goals. I also think the play-in tournament changes the number of teams that say we suck. Yep. Like the Kings in another year would be way the hell out of the playoffs and like, okay, we got to blow it up. It would be there, but instead they're hanging around with a bad basketball team. Same record as the Blazers, with all due respect. But like they're hanging around with a bad basketball team because if they finish 10th and they play a postseason game, that's there's a little carrot for them. It's a carrot for their fans. They're kind of
that's a win for them. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's more teams. There's just so many more teams in that range that are like, hold on, what if we play a postseason game? Right. I think that complicates it. Yeah, I'm with you. The path out of here is tough, which makes one relatively popular podcaster used his podcast space to say that there was reasons for optimism heading into December. That may have been incorrect. The Blazers haven't given us a lot of reasons for optimism. So that segment that I did at the end of November doesn't look great. It's not looking great.
Well, a lot of things have changed since then. CJ got hurt. Cody got hurt. I mean, their depth took a real hit. Yeah. We're starting to play Trenton Watford in meaningful minutes. Ben McLemore is a nightly rotation player now. That wasn't happening back in November.
Right. And I really believe okay, Dame's going to take this time off. He's going to get his body right and he's going to come back and be pretty good. And he shot it really well from 5 threes against Memphis, but he was 1 of 10 inside the arc. He just, it is what it is. He's not playing well. And so much of this machine depends on him being one of the 10 best players in the league. And then when he's not, all of the other little shortcomings, this roster misses X and X and X. Well, they'd be better if Dame propped up the tent a little bit. And Cronin has to make this trade. It's so desperate. It would be less desperate if they were just a 500 team. Like, they would be whether 11 and 18. Like if they were even, like 13 and 15, it would feel so much different. Cause like, okay, they're not that far away, but
yeah, I mean, look, as I wrote, Dame has masked a lot of the Blazers' warts the last 8 or 9 years. I mean, he has almost single-handedly willed this team into the playoffs at least 3 or 4 years. And the other years, he has been remarkable and been the driving force to get them. When he doesn't play at that superhuman level, their depth gets exposed, their defense gets exposed, their lack of shooting gets exposed. But you're right, Mike, that if they were, like you say, 13 and 15 or 14 and 14, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you look at Minnesota, they lost 5 straight games coming into Portland. They beat the Blazers, then they go and beat Denver. Now they're feeling good about themselves. They're getting things rolling. That can happen in the NBA.
Totally. But,
when you're talking losing 7 straight, 10 of 11, that one win was over Detroit, and you looked terrible in that game.
Yeah, it's awful.
I think everyone can see that this is a concerning time for the Blazers. But the biggest problem is Dame hasn't played like Dame, and CJ hasn't played like CJ, and right now CJ isn't even playing. So it really makes it worse.
And it magnifies all of their other shortcomings, like you said. I think after the game, you asked Norm kind of like a sort of, just like for the listeners, kind of like a sort of icebreaker type question. Sometimes, like when you're doing these interviews, you just want to get a guy talking. You want to get. And so Jason, he comes in and Jason goes, "What's the most frustrating part about this losing streak other than the losing?" And Norm's like, kind of pauses and like, "Shit, the losing." It was a really telling moment.
Norm had to go up there and fucking take all the questions of what's wrong, and probably the guy who's played the hardest,
maybe the most consistent performer on the roster. And it's like, okay, well, you want to go out there? And it's like in the way they in the past, kind of everyone would have to stand and deliver in a locker room.
Right.
And you could and you couldn't avoid it, or if guys did avoid it, it would be more noteworthy. It would be like he skipped out on media, like he doesn't even want to deal with it.
Right.
But now the way it works is they bring people into this little media room setup. I'm sure many of you have seen it on the Blazers YouTube channel or on TV or whatever. So now it's like literally someone gets selected from the back hallway. Hello, Norman. It's your terrible responsibility tonight. And I thought Norm was telling, but Norm didn't deserve that. I guess no one really deserved that, but certainly Norm didn't deserve it.
Yeah. I did love his response to when I asked him if he felt the players knew the play well enough. And I thought telling you, it's like, well, I think we know the plays. It's like we're not running them hard enough or correctly enough,
the response was like, it sure doesn't always feel that way, does it, Jason?
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, you've noticed that too, that sometimes we look like we don't know what we're doing on offense. Yeah, that feels
Everyone's
bad.
Standing around.
Yeah, or they're like, Chauncey Billups is pointing and orchestrating, like really doing a lot in a half-court offense. I thought against Phoenix a couple times late, he's like, you go here, you clear this corner. Okay, you go angle. All right, set it.
Yeah.
Which, like, plenty of coaches, like Rick Carlisle has been very successful. He is super hands-on. He calls 110% of the plays. But when you're scuffling and the coach is saying, you go here, like truly orchestrating on the fly, it's more notable for an offense that is below average, 18th in the NBA. Yikes. Well, we didn't avoid all the negativity. I was trying to play a game so we could avoid it, but Jason, we got back in the ditch.
Yeah.
It happens. Dear listeners, this podcast is available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, and tell your friends to do the same. People hear about podcasts via word of mouth, so tell your friends. If you got a Blazer fan, tell your friends. Jason comes every week. He's a weekly guest. And next week, he will get to talk to me from my mom's basement.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for that. Mike Richmond in his mom's basement.
That's truly where it's not where it all started because I lived here when we met, but it's like where you thought it all started was in my mom's basement. It's like literally a blogger from my mom's basement. So that's next week.
So people, this is God honest truth. I, for years, thought that Mike Richmond, and I thought his parents lived in Portland, and I thought he lived with his parents. And that's no joke. And then I found out, oh no, they live in North Carolina.
Yeah, and you're an adult who lives alone. Yeah, I've come a long way since we've over the years we've met for sure, but it didn't come from the basement to another basement. But I guess I really had live with my mom vibes when I met Jason. And he probably joked about it once, and I played along, and then here we are.
Love it. I cannot wait for the next episode, though.
All right, so we'll do it. I don't know what next week is like Christmas, so we'll figure it out. Dear listeners, listen to the podcast because I'll explain when it's all going to go down, and Jason will join the show like he does each week. Go subscribe to The Athletic. No one is covering the team better than Jason. If you are a Blazer fan, you need to read Jason Quick, so you need to subscribe to The Athletic. It's just as simple as that. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.